Hi, everyone. I'm Rodrigo Maroni. Very welcome again this morning. I'm very excited to have you all here for this session about creating high-performance Formula One partnerships. This is really good. I'm here with Stacey from Liquid IV, Shergul, if you already know, and Deena from Xerox to join me here on this panel. Can I start? Before we dive in, can I actually do a little pulse check on everyone here? I wanted to ask you, a quick show of hands, please. If you agree with the statement that brands have to show up in culture to stay relevant. Who agrees that it's important for brands today to show up in culture in a... Okay, good. Most of you agree with me. So now, let me know too, show of hands if you ever felt like it's hard to figure out where, how, with whom you should be showing up in culture. Like, what are the right spaces for your brand to play? Show of hands if you agree this is a hard thing to figure out. And now, finally, a show of hands if you feel like even when you do get it right, culture moves so fast, no pun intended with Formula One, but culture moves so fast that it's hard to keep your finger on the pulse and understand how it's going. Quick show of hands. Okay, so I think you're going to find this panel very helpful to you. This is a big challenge and a big opportunity. I haven't actually introduced myself, so let me fix this. My name is Rodrigo Maroni, and I lead Winnin. We are a cultural intelligence platform that reveals actionable insights to help brands grow their cultural relevance. We work with global brands like Coca-Cola, AB InBev, Unilever, L'Oreal, to uncover those growth opportunities for them. And we, unlike your traditional social listening tools, we actually use behavioral data to decode what moves culture and help brands make more informed, smarter decisions about where to invest, how to invest, passion points, and how to show up. And even if your brand already make the smart decision on investing in Formula One, as you all have done here today, what is the right way to show up in that space? We have here two amazing examples at doing that, Liquid IV and Xerox and Aston Martin, that is making that possible for them. And that's what our conversation is going to be focusing on today. Formula One is the perfect example for this conversation, as this one very exciting sport that blends sports, technology, personality, and everything. You have all your options available. So let's start with a quick introduction yourself. Stacey and Deena, can you please talk a little bit about yourself and what you're doing now at Liquid IV before we kick off?
Sure. Hi, everyone. My name is Stacey Andrade-Wells. I'm the Chief Marketing Officer at Liquid IV, and I've been with the company for about 3.5 years. This is year 2 of our partnership with the F1 Miami Grand Prix. So we have an amazing activation. Our team is boots on the ground today, building up our activation on the grounds. And so really exciting opportunity for us to show up as the official functional hydration partner, which is a first for the F1 Miami Grand Prix and a first for us in terms of our partnership with F1.
Deena, LaMarque Piquion. I'm the Chief Growth and Disruption Officer for Xerox. I was CMO up until last year and then expanded my function, so still keep the marketing aspect of that function. This is our first year with F1 Aston Martin Aramco team and our first race that we're activating. So I'm a Miami local, happy to be activating in Miami first.
You guys just met me, but Shergul, Arshad, I'm very happy to welcome both brands. You know, one quick thing before we delve into more aspects of it, but there's really 3 ways in which brands get involved, maybe 4 with Formula One. Obviously, I speak from the team side. Sponsors that get involved with the team have access to a car that they can then bring to events like the one you see outside when you came in. Our drivers, we have social media that are out there 365 days a year. And it's a sweet experience for your guests to then come down into the garage and be really integrated into a team. Like Liquid IV is doing with a racetrack as another way to do this, and that makes a lot of sense if you're particularly focused on the specific markets. So a market, a regional specific, or potentially a series of events in the US might make sense to do a track. There's the league itself, so Formula One being a league sponsor, that's, you have to find a few more pennies stuffed between the couch pillows, but that's a great way to obviously have a presence at all the different races. And then in some cases, you can have a specific deal with a driver, but in different sports, the teams relinquish a lot to the drivers or to the athletes. In our sport, it's very team controlled. So thought I'd throw that out there.
Amazing, amazing. So the same way that there are only 20 spots on the grid, not everybody, can make it to the Formula One as a driver, as a racer. Not every brand can make it to the Formula One as well. I want to know from the three of you, the two of you from the perspective of brand, and Shergul from your, partnering with brands, what actually makes Formula One a great fit for your brands? Like what actually makes it the right space for you to play, and how you are actually showing up in this opportunity?
Yeah, I'm happy to jump in first. So for us, I think it's a two-part question, right? Because our partnership is with actually the Miami Grand Prix. So first question, why Formula One? Why does that make sense for us? And you kind of hinted at this earlier, Rodrigo, but culture is such an important thing for a brand. We have to really find a way to stay at the forefront of culture. Formula One is this amazing intersection of sports, entertainment, hospitality. It really is on that leading edge. It's gained so much popularity, even in the United States over the last several years, especially with Drive to Survive. So for us, it felt like a really good opportunity to be where culture is and to be where people are. I think beyond that, when you're a brand and you're looking for a good partnership fit, it's really a question of how does this align with our brand strategy? Drivers will lose on average anywhere between 4 to 8 pounds of water weight in a given race. The temperatures are incredibly hot in the car. And so it's an amazing story about hydration, the need for electrolyte replenishment. It aligns really perfectly with the Liquid IV promise of a superior functional hydration product. So for us, it just felt like an excellent fit. And then I think the question is like, why F1 Miami? So if F1's a good fit, why specifically Miami? And for us as a brand, there are 4 key usage occasions that we really focus on. Number 1 is heat-related dehydration. Last year, Miami hit 112 degrees in May. So certainly, I think you all probably felt it when you stepped out of your hotel room this morning. It starts early and it lasts the whole day. Exercise is the second one. So sport, obviously a great fit there. Travel, many of us came in from out of town. I'm coming from LA. We know that the travel really takes it out of us. And then the last one is nightlife recovery. And I would put some money that some of you have some happy hours that you're going to later today. And so Liquid IV is the perfect opportunity for us to really meet all 4 of those usage occasions in Miami for the Miami Grand Prix.
And it's so interesting because here you have 2 very different brands who have chosen, the same sport for very different reasons. Xerox is obviously a B2B brand, very different business objectives, but F1 and Aston Martin in particular really align to our brand strategy and our brand objectives. So, we looked at a lot of sports properties and obviously looking at cultural relevance, the audiences, and who we were trying to target. We're in the middle of a reinvention of this brand. This is an iconic 100-plus-year-old brand, very similar to Aston Martin. And what we're trying to do is shift the perception of Xerox so that people don't only think of Xerox as a copier, but also all of the other solutions that we've developed and that we're diversifying into. So a sport of technology really helps us to associate with the new technology solutions that we have. The Aston Martin brand and that kind of like cultural relevance, iconic, legendary brands coming together. And we're really trying to reach a specific audience, which is 25 to 44 digitally native business decision makers who are buying IT solutions for enterprises or for small and medium businesses. And the growing audience for F1 really fits that category perfectly.
Thanks, Deena. Do we have the video by any chance teed up? I don't know if the brand innovators have that.
For over a century, Xerox has redefined how the world works. From revolutionizing the copier to empowering the digital workplace, we've always innovated with speed, precision, and progress. Just like Aston Martin Aramco Formula One team on track, every second counts. Every decision is fueled by data. Every move is powered by precision. Off the track, it's no different. Organizations big and small race against inefficiency, bottlenecks, and unexpected turns. But with Xerox digital and IT solutions, the road ahead is smooth, driving towards a more sustainable future. Xerox and Aston Martin Aramco, a shared passion for progress. Xerox, we make work, work.
Thanks, everybody. So we are thrilled to have Xerox as a partner. I think you asked the question on what makes successful partnerships and why get into Formula One. Obviously, I have a very biased point of view here, but there's no sport right now in the planet that actually travels, creating 400,000 spectator events in 20 countries. We have 24 races in 20 countries, and each time you can see what's happening here in Miami. It takes over, in some cases, just a city, in many cases, an entire country. Like when Australia has the Grand Prix, all of the whole country is excited about it. And what this creates is, for any global brand out there, there's really no better way to both reach customers, but also bring them to events. Because if you sponsor a soccer team, and it's obviously soccer teams have the greatest TV audiences of any team out there, but they're usually in a place like Liverpool. And who really wants to go from Australia to Liverpool, right? But if you're bringing somebody, heck, even the Miami Dolphins, it's a great place to visit, but you might come once. But if every year you're recurring coming into your region, it becomes a great place for fans to build interest. And so there's really nothing out there in all of sports quite like working with Formula One. For us, the Aston Martin team, we've gone the extra mile to really make sure that every partner of ours is given an Aston Martin experience. So service is at the core of a lot of what we do. When you walk into a dealership, you should feel this luxury treatment. But we don't just treat partners this way, we treat our fans this way. So for example, tomorrow night, we're doing a free to enter, you had to register in advance, but event with a DJ, Dom Dalla, at a pop-up place in Wynwood for several thousand fans of ours, and we're treating them to a free show and food and drinks. We also treat the environment and the world in a wonderful way, and I think Deena and the team from Xerox this week did a great program, which I'll probably touch on in a little bit, but we try to do everything from a brand conscious point of view. So centric to us and critical is delivering results for the partners. We want someone that is happily meeting their KPIs. So it can vary drastically, right? It's from a consumer brand that's looking for awareness, from a brand like Xerox is looking for a transformation into what's evolved into their brand strategy. We work with a number of different types of industries, and I'm happy to discuss those with you guys at some point.
Amazing. I think all three of you mentioned something that I think it's really important, like social. Formula One became a social first sport. Like this is really significant, and also significant is the fact that we are in Miami, who I would say like is becoming the poster child of the whole sport. We've seen through our platform that the engagement around the Miami GP itself grew to 110% over the last year. So this is huge. This is significant. It's really on the track of Monaco, perhaps overtake its close. But in many senses, like being a social first sport raises the bar for everyone. Like, fans are expecting interaction with the drivers, the teams, the sponsors, and everyone. How do you keep up with that? What is your strategy beyond the race, beyond the city, even though Miami is very important, but how actually do you extend that presence digitally to make sure that your fans are digitally engaged with your activations?
Yeah, it's a really great question, and you're totally right. I think for us, we're really approaching it from every level at the very macro level of the partnership to drive awareness, all the way through to one-on-one engagements with fans and with consumers. So at the macro level, the partnership is obviously incredibly valuable to drive awareness. We made sure that we landed on the opportunity to even use the F1 IP. So for example, this is the first year that we're launching a co-branded product. It's a mystery flavor with F1 licensing on it. So it's our opportunity to really take it beyond the grounds of just the Miami Grand Prix and really get something that we could offer to put in the hands of consumers nationwide. So that was one really big element. Secondly, for us, it's really important that we're able to create digital assets that can really travel throughout our social platforms. So anytime that we do a major activation build, we also kind of consider it as a set. It's a set for content creation. We have photographers, videographers who are on site, our creative directors here. We have influencers that we are bringing to the Liquid IV Race House on the grounds who are creating content for us. We have partnerships this year with Alex Albon and Bianca Bustamante. So we're finding ways to extend the partnership and really create that engaging digital content. And then I would say even on a very, very micro level, we're making sure that we find a way to connect with fans. So simple example of this, we had one fan on our social platforms who for the last year, since we were at Miami last year, has been commenting on our posts, day 6 of me asking Liquid IV to take me to the Miami Grand Prix. And so, she was very persistent. And we listen to that stuff. We read the comments, like even as the CMO, I am deep in the comments of all of our social media platforms. And the team did a wonderful thing this year, which is that they reached out to her and offered a all expenses paid trip to the Miami Grand Prix to join us at our race house, our activation. She was ecstatic, over the moon, was super excited. And for us, that's how we operate. We're a consumer first brand. If we want this partnership to really work for us, it needs to work at the most micro level and also at the most macro level.
If you don't ask, you don't get it, right? Hey.
Don't get ideas, though. Can't do that for everybody.
So very different, again, right? Our thoughts on this as a B2B brand. But what we've done is we've taken the brand equity, the IP, the assets. We've really leaned in. As you can see, the video is just one example. We've created assets for our employees. You got to get people excited. We're creating new fans in our employee pool. Our channel partners who resell our solutions. We branded our partner summit completely with our F1 Aston Martin partnership. We had a car on site. We had Rob Bloom, the CMO, as one of our keynotes at the event, really creating that excitement both internally and with our partners. Of course, the hospitality element is really important for us and aligns to our business strategies. We're inviting clients here this weekend that we'll be with for 3 days nonstop in a once-in-a-lifetime unique experience that builds deep relationships that you don't really get to have as a sales leader. So we're excited about that. And then finally, the passion for progress it means something to us. Xerox has a legacy of, ESG and corporate social responsibility, and so does Aston Martin. And yesterday I was at an event with a driver in a high school not far from here with people who are unhoused, high school kids who have some of the highest unhoused population in a school at the Booker T. Washington School in Overtown. We're at a luxury residence today. Some of them are living in shelters and going to school in a STEM program, trying to learn about engineering. And we brought a real-life 17-year-old driver, the same age as them, who was showing them she made it to F1 Academy and was going to be racing here this weekend. We did a program with them. They created their own race car team. They selected brands and sponsors they would go to, sustainability goals they presented to us, and the winners are on track today with the Aston Martin team at the Hard Rock.
I think digital is at the core of what a lot of we do as a team. When we took over the team a few years ago, Jeff Slack, our managing director, the first mission was, let's be the most successful and digital media, specifically social media. And one of the ways we did that is we actually built our own in-house agency. So we do everything from creative concepting to video shooting and editing, and we actually are producing content, we're producing events. So it's become a full-centric agency in-house. And what that's led us to do is create kind of Aston Martin quality work that is created at a level superior to all the other teams out there. We've had the most engagement of any team for their social media content. And we obviously choose different campaigns, and we'll do everything from a STEM program, for example, in a high school, or we'll do a transformation story like you saw with Xerox. We'll talk about a upcoming spotlight cruise that we're doing with Region 7 Seas. So there'll be themes towards partners. There'll be themes about the drivers. There'll be different mediums. For example, on TikTok, we'll have Fernando Alonso, doing dances outside of a car and like stuff that really differentiates itself. And we've been the fastest growing team on social media numbers. We're up over 30 million across the different platforms. But most proud, I think, of our engagement.
Beautiful. Another parallel we can make between Formula One and brands is that data matters, right? Data matters a lot. It matters to win on the racetrack, and it matters to win against your competition. We spoke when we were discussing preparation for this panel. I told you about the metric we developed called share of attention to help brands overcome vanity metrics or superficial metrics, just like impressions and reach, and actually help brands understand how they're winning in culture against their contextual competition. I'd love to hear you talk a little bit more about how you've been working, in your marketing function to adopt metrics that are helping you demonstrate how this effort is making an impact and helping the brands grow. Deena, you want to go first?
Sure. So first of all, data played a really big role in how we selected the sport and the team, right? Really looking at, the story behind the numbers in terms of the fan base and the reach and, everything, the engagement. But since we've activated, obviously, there'll be a couple of key metrics that we'll be paying attention to. One is, brand relevance and consideration. These are things that we want to move the needle on, right? We want to make sure that our relevance is increasing because people are realizing that we have other technology solutions to help their businesses that perhaps they didn't realize we had before, and that we're more top of mind. Yesterday in that high school, I asked the kids how many of them had heard about Xerox before, and only one kid raised his hand, and I was like, clearly I'm doing a bad job, but watch the race this weekend and you'll see Xerox on the car. And this is about trying to get in front of new audiences and raise awareness and really pique people's interest. That's why we've incorporated it into our campaigns. The other metric that we'll track really closely is return on the investment of the clients that we host from a hospitality aspect.
So for us, we actually have two different answers because, first of all, there's the team perspective. So what are the metrics that are important to us? I mean, ultimately, it's about winning. And I think what we've built right now is the foundations for a 2026 team that is unparalleled to everyone else in the sport. We've hired the premier designer in Adrian Newey, and he's hard at work in designing the 2026 car. And we know that there's sometimes the statement of taking a step backwards to take many steps forward. By not focusing on the 2025 car, you're setting yourself up actually in a better position to win in 2026. And a lot of teams are not doing that. So we're, this extreme optimism for what's happening for next year. What fuels that is money, right? And so the sport growing, the TV, you mentioned to double the TV audience here for Miami. The races are up on TV. You've got an incredible excitement with Drive to Survive, but also the Apple TV F1 movie, the Apple movie coming out with Brad Pitt this summer is going to take the sport to yet another level. So all these brands that are participating on team side or with the sport are going to be now in theaters with Brad Pitt and Deena next to him. So you're going to have this incredible excitement. So for us, it's growing the revenue and winning. For our partners, we literally sit down with every single one and we try to understand what their KPIs are. What's going to be success for Xerox is going to be very different than what's success for Liquid IV, right? So a consumer brand might be much more about the impressions and maybe the total media value and the reach and how is that now brought in new consumers or new awareness to them. A B2B tech company can actually measure pretty tangibly if they bring guests to races around the world and those then convert to customers. That can be a massive impact. One of our biggest customers or sponsors has attributed over $500 million in new business generated from their sponsorship with us. And that they're measuring that based on the guests that they're bringing to races and how that's converted to business. So again, very different types of success metrics, and that's what we do for measuring.
Yeah, for us, you're totally right. Awareness is a big one from a brand standpoint. So we're looking at awareness on a national scale and then also in Miami. And you kind of talked about like, it's not just on the grounds, it's about Miami as a city, and we take that very seriously. So our campaign exists in the broader Miami area. Maybe some of you, when you arrived at the airport, might have seen that the pillars were wrapped with Liquid IV advertising. There's Liquid IV videos playing at baggage claim. We actually have out-of-home advertising all throughout Miami. And our field marketing teams are deployed in Miami, giving out samples to people in the entire city. So it is definitely beyond just the Grand Prix. So we're looking at awareness levels in Miami to see if we can see an uptick there. Other KPIs that are important to us are engagement rate. So on our social channels, the content that is done in partnership with F1 Miami, that the influencers are generating from our race house. How is this resonating with consumers? Are they liking it? Are they commenting on it? Are they sharing it with their friends? How is that partnership really dialing up the engagement on our social channels? Another element is what we call Sticks in Hand, which is our sampling program. We really believe that if you try Liquid IV, you're going to love it, you're going to buy it. It is truly a sensorial transformation when you go from being depleted to being rehydrated. So Sticks in Hand is really important for us. Last year, we actually gave out 190,000 Sticks in Hand in the Miami area. This year, we're going for 250,000. So it's a really important KPI for us. And then the last thing I would say is like data is quantitative and it's also qualitative. So we took the opportunity last year to really talk with fans that were on the grounds and understand what worked well about what we did and what would they like to see different from us. And what we heard a lot is there is a bit of exclusivity to the sport. And we would like you to be a bit more accessible to us. And I think for, a consumer product good that's focused on hydration for everyone and making clean water accessible to everyone, accessibility is a really big theme for us. And so a lot of our content this year is actually behind the scenes. So that if you're at home and you're on the East Coast and you couldn't make it out here, or you're on the West Coast and you couldn't make it out here, you still can get a picture of what it's like to be at the Grand Prix. You can see what happens on the track side and you can kind of be part of that journey with us. So accessibility was a really big deal. We also made a change in our presence on the grounds. Last year, we were primarily focused on the race house, which has really great trackside viewing, but we wanted to be a little bit more accessible to GA. So we actually created hydration stations throughout the campus where people can go refill their water bottles, and we actually have brand ambassadors that are now making their way through the entire campus, giving out Sticks in Hand to fans who are dehydrated and are kind of making their way through the Miami heat. So a lot of learnings, both quantitative and qualitative, that are helping us go bigger and better this year.
Amazing. I think before we break out for questions from the audience, I think we have a couple minutes to do that. Maybe? Okay. I just want to know, I just want to tell you, we are going to be at Winnin putting together a report next week about how brands perform at F1 Miami with, I hope, some useful insights, helpful learning from everyone. So I invite you to check us on our socials at winning.ai on Instagram or LinkedIn for that report. We actually already have some of the data available there, but we're going to have more next week after we collect everything that is going on. this week. So now, any questions from the audience before we wrap up?
Yeah, it's a great question. I think for us, it's really an opportunity to kind of plant a seed, have a really big moment, but then sustain that over time. And so certain elements, even like our co-branded product that has launched over the last couple of days as a mystery flavor. We're going to be unveiling what that mystery flavor is come a few days from now, a few weeks from now. So it's an opportunity to kind of take a first step in building that relationship, but finding ways to sustain it over time. And for us, the media strategy is something that is evergreen. So we're not like a, hey, 4 days, we're in the city, so we're going to blast media here and then we're going to pull back. It really is something that has to be that constant drumbeat. Awareness does fall off as soon as the media investment gets pulled back. And it needs that consistent kind of evergreen investment to have that steady trajectory of growth. I would say about 3 years ago, the brand was at about 10% national awareness. And through consistent investment in top of funnel awareness, reach driving media, we're now north of 30% national awareness as a brand. So same deal here in Miami, very much about like, yes, it's kind of a blitz of a city takeover for this weekend, but absolutely plan to sustain that investment to make sure that we keep reminding people throughout the whole summer that hydration is critical.
Okay, anyone else? All right, thank you very much again, Shergul. Thanks, Deena. Thanks, Stacey.